turn out now after having seen the first Trump term. So I think really the important thing for the president tonight is to go after Trump aggressively and not seem like this is a passive speech.
Sarah, what about you? What are you watching? You're watching the vibrancy. Age is obviously a big issue.
Number one issue is how does he act? Is he wide awake? Does he make mistakes? I mean, really, sorry. I'm hoping, though, that the Republicans don't say anything from the floor, because when they did last year, it kind of gave him some energy and made him look like alive more so than usual. So I do hope they sit there quietly. But
Not a
energy
chance.
is going
Don't
to be...
cross your fingers on that one.
I can hope. But energy is the number one thing. And can he deliver the message? And I actually think he avoids talking about Trump tonight. I think he's going to try to talk about what he's doing for the country and see if it works, because I do think he is the underdog.
Okay, Michael, as far as the number one issue right now, according to polls, is immigration. But Biden's handling of immigration is in the mid-30s. In a recent Harvard-Harris poll, the only policy issue, that he's above 50% is COVID, handling of COVID. COVID's over. So how does he deal with the immigration? Does he deal with it like Tom Suozzi, who just won a special election?
Yeah.
That this is a real vulnerable spot for the president.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an instance where you're really going to see the president go on the offense against Republicans. Democrats have had a real messaging problem when it comes to immigration, and Republicans walking away from that bipartisan immigration bill is something that I think the president's really going to hang around their neck tonight, because it's a liability for Democrats' down ticket. And so he not only needs to reinforce his own election, but he wants to make sure that Democrats keep the Senate and hopefully can win the House.
Sarah, what about the immigration issue? How do they recover? For a while, both Mayorkas and the administration was saying there's no border crisis. Now they say, yes, there is a crisis, and they're blaming Republicans for not taking that deal, which was a pretty good deal, but Trump killed that deal. How does Biden handle that tricky issue? Does he try to bait Republicans on immigration?
I actually think for him to have any success with immigration, he has got to do some presidential. He's going to have to stand up, do only things that he can do. He's not going to get help from the Republicans. They actually didn't like that bill. The Republican Main Street Partnership members, of which were 97 of them, found a few huge faults, like the 5,000 people a day, and more importantly, the court. When you bring them to court, you don't take them to court in Texas. You bring them here to D.C., which is a very liberal court. So a lot of the members were really opposed to that as well. So he's got to act presidential, do some orders, and see if he can shut down the border. I don't think he will, actually.
Michael, there are a number of issues that are not going great for Democrats right now, but one issue that really saved them in the midterm election, that held off a predicted red wave, was abortion. And now we have the IVF issue. How much does Biden lean into that? Sometimes he doesn't feel comfortable in talking about abortion.
Yeah, I mean, he has to talk about abortion. He's got to make his case. But to some degree, Republicans are making the case for Biden himself. The way that they're talking about IVF and abortion, the way that they're really failing to have any cogent message, I think plays into Democrats' hands. And so I think as we move forward, you're going to start to see more surrogates tell the story, as we've seen kind of with the family in Texas with IVF.
Sarah, on the economy, what do you think Biden will lean into? Again, this is another issue where Trump has the advantage. The economy was better. Of course, we had COVID. We've had inflation. There are good economic indicators right now. The stock market's doing very well. How does he handle that? And because with these economic numbers, I don't think he can win a second term. He's got to improve them.
So the economic numbers, it's interesting. I think the Democrats are doing a very poor job talking about the successes the president has had.
Yeah.
Most people don't even understand. The inflation's coming down. The stock market is at all-time highs. But because interest rates are high and grocery bills are high and gas prices, American people aren't feeling that. You know, they're not feeling the low unemployment rates. They're feeling what's happening in their own pocketbooks. and their own checkbook. So that's a huge problem for President Biden. I don't know how he handles that because I said that their marketing is terrible.
Well,
I mean, he gets an F in marketing. Sorry.
No.
He does.
Let me piggyback on that because I think one of the problems that Democrats run into with the economy is you don't want to talk about it in a way that seems out of touch with the voters, and you also don't want to hype the economy up. And God forbid something happen in the next couple months that causes a staggering in how the economy's doing.
But he's doing neither.
But you don't want to fall into the trap, and so he's got to talk about it in a positive way, but not seem like he's hyping it and trying to use the government hand to influence it.
Okay, good luck with that.
Sarah, well, let's talk about impeachment politics. The last time a Democratic president was impeached, it didn't work out so great for Republicans. Right now, there's such a slim House majority, they may not even have the votes to pass impeachment of the president. Do you think that would be a bad idea? Because as kind of people want to talk about bread and butter issues.
Right. So people don't want to impeach President Biden. Even the members of the Republican Main Street Partnership don't want to, unless there's pure facts and a pure reason to. So I do not think Biden will be impeached this year. And you're right, when they impeached Bill Clinton, it only helped President Clinton, and it hurt the Republicans. We do not want to be in that situation again.
Michael, politically, from your side, is it a good thing if they impeached him?
It's never a good thing to have a president impeached, but what I will say is people may disagree with the president, especially this president, but they don't dislike him. And I think that's one of the things that really inoculates him from a lot of these situations. People not only didn't agree with Donald Trump's policies, but they didn't like him as a person. And so when you started trying to rehabilitate his image, you really didn't have the ability to. That's not the same with President Biden. I think people have separated, I may not like this policy, but I think he's a good guy who's trying. George W. Bush had that same kind of effect, and he was able to get reelected because they may not have really agreed with the direction, but they thought that he was trying the best he could.
Sarah, let's talk about a big picture. The White House is up for grabs. The House is up for grabs. The Senate is up for grabs, even though Republicans have a big advantage with the map. But there are a lot of Democrats who are in the audience tonight who are thinking, Joe Biden's dragging my candidacy down. Kind of just talk about the election year and the stakes.
So we at Republican Main Street Partnership, in the House especially, we are the purple districts. We are going to be the majority makers. We are feeling really good. Biden's numbers in these districts are really poor, and our members are doing great. I actually think we expand the House by only a couple seats, though. There's no wave coming. And I also do think we pick up the United States Senate. I think Larry Hogan jumping in from Maryland was a huge plus for the Republicans. It's going to force the Democrats to spend money in a state that should have been a slam dunk for them.
Michael, your take on all the races right now.
Well, let me say, I think the presidential race and everything down ticket, it begins tonight. This is the Democrats' first real opportunity to make the case. And I think the case that really has to be made is, what is the alternative to what we've got going on now? It's Donald Trump. And whether you agree with his policies or not, I don't think very many people trust him with the White House, with our national secrets, with our national security. And I think that's really what Democrats are going to lean on. You may not like the policies of Joe Biden, but at the end of the day, do you really want to hand the government back over to Donald Trump? And that was really what Bill Clinton ran on in that re-election.
Sarah, let's talk about Katie Britt, who's giving the Republican response. Katie Britt is 42 years old, almost 40 years younger than the president. That selection was not an accident. Talk about her. She's a real rising star.
She sure is. She does a lot of things for Republican Main Street Partnership. I like a few things about her. First of all, Southern state. Second of all, a woman. Because right now, you talked about IVF and abortion, huge issues out there for women and the men that love these women. And she's a rising star, and it's nice to see the page flip to a younger generation. And this is the future, and she's a very big part of that.
I will just ask, when has this ever worked out for someone? A rising star giving the rebuttal. I just think of Marco Rubio. We will forever remember him as fumbling that water glass, looking awkward.
Bobby Jindal.
Like, I can't really think of someone in a rebuttal that's improved their chances or improved their popularity.
Tonight.
We'll see.
Okay. Predictions. We love predictions. All right, Michael, let's talk about Biden's coalition. In 2020, he won narrowly, but he had a strong coalition of minorities and independents. But if you look at the polls, he's losing, he's slipping among Latinos, African Americans, as well as independents. Independents in a recent poll preferred RFK Jr. over both Trump and Biden. How does Biden get that coalition back?
It's the Obama coalition.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the president is going to have to rely on the fact that Donald Trump is running against him. I know I keep falling back to that, but it's what is going to bring Democrats and independents home at the end of the day. Because independents may like the economic policy of Donald Trump, but at the end of the day, and I keep saying this, do they want to hand the keys back over? Do they trust that even in a good economy, he'll handle something like COVID horribly and cause another international crisis?
Sarah, what do you think about Trump and his legal problems? They really haven't hurt him. They've actually helped him. Now, that was in a primary, which he's basically, he's won it. Nikki Haley is out. But he could be on trial after Labor Day. What's the effect of that?
So right now, it's all been positive for the President Trump. His numbers have gone up, as we've seen. So I'm really not that worried about it. I mean, the American people seem to put that to the side, and they don't even think it's legit, a lot of them. So I'm not really concerned. I think it's going to be more important to watch Biden's age than Trump's legal problems.
I could see that. I could see it becoming a problem as we get closer to November, just because I don't think people are really tuned in yet. There's, the RFKs of the world. People are really trying to see the layout of the land. Was Nikki Haley going to stay in the race? Tonight is the first night that we know Donald Trump, Joe Biden are going head-to-head against each other.
I don't think that people understand the legal problems, and I don't think they care. I think we're living in a new America.
What about the third party? No Labels is going to put, we're not sure who, but Joe Manchin is out. Larry Hogan, you mentioned, is running for Senate. They're going to run somebody. They have to. Sarah, we'll go to you. Is that gonna be a viable candidacy? Is that going to move the election one way or the other?
No, I don't think it's a viable candidacy, though I'll be thrilled if they do put somebody in, because I think Donald Trump wins. I think it takes away from Joe Biden. So I'm all for No Labels doing it, but I think it'd be a disaster for the Democrats.
It's funny you mentioned that. I came out with a column today that suggested if Nikki Haley really wanted to be the hero that she says she is, that she'll be the write-in candidate as an anti-Trump vote.
Yeah, good luck. She won't do that.
We'll see.
She's the future.
She doesn't have a place in the Republican Party anymore.
I disagree.
We'll see.
Every State of the Union has a surprise, and you've got to make news. So Biden's going to talk about abortion, IVF. We know all those issues. He's going to talk about government shutdown. But, Michael, do you expect anything new and exciting that he can launch for the rest of the year?
So I think this issue around Gaza and the port,
right,
while it's a very big announcement, we were talking about this before, it's potentially problematic having U.S., whether they're soldiers or contractors, going into that port and protecting it. That potentially puts U.S. citizens in danger. I think that's going to be something that they're going to lean on, and I don't.
That work out for them.
It could have really disastrous consequences. But I actually think the big moment is going to be a line about Trump. I think it could potentially be a spontaneous line. But I think the president really wants to goad Trump in this speech. He will never have a bigger audience than right now to goad Trump, and Trump doesn't have the same ability to punch back.
Sarah, what do you think is an underrated issue for the election year? Something that, it's not the economy, it's not immigration. Those are, some people say affordable housing is a sleeper. What do you think?
I actually think housing is a massive issue, but I really think Gaza. I think it's going to come down to Gaza, and if people are going to be willing to vote for Biden, because he doesn't seem to be able to handle what's going on over there. It's a crisis, and there were people protesting here today. People are not happy with him and the way he's handling this, and he has to deal with Netanyahu. So I think that would continue to be the number one issue.
Do you think, Sarah, that Donald Trump is going to pick a woman to be his running mate?
No, I think he's going to take Tim Scott.
Tim Scott? You think Tim Scott?
That's my pick. Yeah.
That's a horrible choice.
Why is that a horrible choice, Mike?
It will cause African American turnout to tick up, and not for Tim Scott. What we saw in Georgia in that race were African Americans who were offended by the notion that Republicans would put up someone who they only really believed was qualified because he was black. There was nothing about.
But he was a United States senator.
No. I'm talking about the former Georgia running back who they ran against.
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker. I'm sorry. Yeah, that race was.
Tim Scott is no Herschel Walker.
Yeah, but it's Tim Scott in very many. As an African American, I won't say I speak for everyone, but there is very much a feeling that he is trying to appeal to a certain type of white voter, and the line is shorter on that side, and I know that I personally would turn out even more so just because of the offense I take by some of the things that Tim Scott participates in. That's a very nice way of saying some other things.
All right, last question. We have bingo cards here. I was looking at a number of bingo cards today. There's folks, malarkey, shrinkflation, maybe Donald Trump. I got my money on a shout out to Taylor Swift. Any bold predictions on bingo? Will he mention Trump's name or some other thing?
I think he'll mention Trump's name, and I think he'll go Taylor Swift. I agree with you on that.
I was joking, but you think
But he needs her. He needs her to help turn out the vote.
And she did endorse him in 2020.
Absolutely.
So, Michael, your prediction?
My crazy prediction?
Okay. All right, we're almost done.
We're so close.
We're so close to the end.
I have a great prediction, though.
Thank you.
Will catch himself calling someone a jackass.
Jackass.
Yeah.
All right, I like it.
I could see him calling someone a jackass tonight.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Some of the best political minds across on both sides of the aisle. Thank you so much. Enjoy the speech, and the bars are back open. Enjoy.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for rolling with tonight. All right, thank you again to our sponsors, Samsung and C-SPAN, and we are playing bingo, so please find your bingo cards. Thank you all.